أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور. الذي خلق 7 سماوات طباقا ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت فارجع البصر هل ترى من فطور ثم ارجع البصر كرتين ينقلب إليك البصر خاسئا وهو حسير. ولقد زينا السماء الدنيا بمصابيح وجعلناها رجوما للشياطين وأعتدناهم عذاب السعير. وللذين كفروا بربهم عذاب جهنم وبئس المصير. إذا ألقوا فيها سمعوا لها شهيقا وهي تفور تكاد تميز من الغيظ. كلما ألقي فيها فوج سألهم خزنتها ألم يأتكم نذير قالوا بلى قد جاءنا نذير فكذبنا وقلنا ما نزل الله من شيء إن أنتم إلا في ضلال كبير. وقالوا لو كنا نسمع أو نعقل ما كنا في أصحاب السعير فاعترفوا بذنبهم فسحقا لأصحاب السعير. إن الذين يخشون ربهم بالغيب لهم مغفرة وأجر كبير. وأسروا قولكم أو اجهروا به إنه عليم بذات الصدور. ألا يعلم من خلق وهو اللطيف الخبير. هو الذي جعل لكم الأرض ذلولا فامشوا في مناكبها وكلوا من رزقه وإليه النشور.
الله يبارك فيك. الله أكبر. الله.
Importance of the Amana of our children and raising up a generation of Muslims into the future, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, hamd al-shakirin, wa salatu wa salamu ala sayyid al-mursaleen, sayyidina wa nabiyyina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. One of the greatest amana that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed upon us is that He invited us to prepare a future generation for carrying forward mankind and humanity in a way that is pleasing to Allah. And I just wish to share with you a few images that myself and a special guest presenter, one of our dear colleagues, mashallah, Dr. Amina, an expert, academic expert, who will share some thoughts as well. I have one job as a man. And I want our dear brothers, our dear husbands, our sons, and our fathers to kind of take heed and to listen to this. I may do many things for work, but I have one singular job. My one job is to provide everything I can for my wife, to provide everything she can for our children and home. And this is Islam. My wife also has one job. She may have many things that she does for work, but she has one job, one sole purpose, as is defined by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And her job is to provide وَالْمَرْأَةُ رَاعِيَةٌ فِي بَيْتِ زَوْجِهَا. She has the responsibility, the full authority for everything that is necessary in the marital house that she and her husband provide. So although my wife, mashallah, she's an attorney, she's a lawyer, she works for legal aid. She stands in court, she speaks to judges, but that's not her job. That's what she does for work. Her job is to be a mother to our children, a wife to me, and a daughter to her family, a sister to her community, one whose mission in life is to fulfill that Amina. In Salatul Maghrib, I read with the last verses of Surah Al-Ahzab that Allah gave us an Amina. And this Amina, its mountains could not withstand it. The Amina is that you and I are khulafa fil ard. That what I have is not meant to be kept with me alone, but my success is not how well I've lived, but how well my children after me live. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, he says to his son Ishaq and Ismail and Yaqub, مَا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن بَعْدِ. Who will you worship after me? قَالُوا نَعْبُدُ إِلَهَكَ وَإِلَهَ آبَائِكَ. Ismail asks, Yaqub asks, Ishaq asks, Ibrahim asks. Your job as a man is one. Your job as a woman is one. And your work may be many. When we speak about raising Muslims, one of the first most elemental steps is to love our children so completely that when they see that that love has changed, when they see disappointment, when they see that there is the love that was free, that was given without condition, becomes conditional, that they know even from our silence that there is a point of disappointment and there is a moment of correction. The Prophet ﷺ, the Sahaba all would say, كَانَ يُعْرَفُ فِي وَجْهِهِ إِذَا غَضِبَ. When you looked at the Prophet's face ﷺ and he was upset with you, you could see it in his face. He didn't have to say a word. Aisha radiallahu anha, she says, as I sat with the Messenger ﷺ, a woman came by, وَسَبَّتْنِي, she cursed me with vile words. I'm the wife of Muhammad ﷺ, this evil person. An unbeliever came and dishonored me with words in front of him. Aisha radiallahu anha, she says, فَنَظَرْتُ فِي وَجْهِهِ فَرَأَيْتَ أَنَّهُ يَغْضَبْ فَسَكَتْ. So I looked into his face and I saw that if I responded, he would be upset. So I held myself. I restrained myself. I kept quiet. فَذَهَبَتِ الْعَجُوزُ وَرَجَعَتْ. The woman left and came back. وَسَبَّتْنِي. She did it again, even worse. And I looked into my husband's face. He didn't need to say a word. He would be upset, so I was quiet. And then the third time, نظرت في وجهه فرأيت أنه لا يغضب. I saw in his face that he 3 times and فانتصرت. So I defended myself. فلم تعد. I gave her words that she never dared come back. It's important for us that our love is giving and sharing and held forward with our children, but that we know when to restrict it. Number two, one of the great failings that I have as a father and as a husband and even as an educator and as an imam is that at times we try to correct the wrong thing in our children and we misdiagnose the problem. So at times the problem is an illness of the heart, but we're correcting the body. So I regularly will have a father will ring me who will say, Sheikh Yahya, and of course as Muslims, when it comes to Islam, we don't have haya in these kind of things. He says, Sheikh, my son has been looking at something haram. And I said, and? He said, so I punished him. I took this and I did this and I did everything physical. And I said, and? I don't know. That's it. You and I as human beings are body, mind, and soul. And if you try to correct something in my mind that's actually a problem in my soul, in my heart, you fail. If you try to correct me physically when it's something that is, I'm unconvinced, you can do whatever you want to my body, but my mind is made up, you fail. And if you try to discipline my mind and my body and do not correct my soul, you fail. Bilal, they could tear every part of his body to make him disbelieve in Allah. But he would never leave ahadun ahad. Allah is one. Why? Because it's his soul. It's not just his mind and it's not his body. And Bilal would say to them, you own my body, but you do not own my soul. And where I fail and you fail, wherever you and I will fail with our children, is that we are speaking to the wrong component of what makes them human. If you address the heart when you should be addressing the body, you fail. And if you address the body when you are needing to address the mind, you will fail. I wish to call forward Dr. Aminah. I know I surprised her today, wallahi. And I do request that she shares a few words with you. Dr. Aminah did her PhD in education. She used to be a nurse. She did her PhD specializing in educating young Muslim women in particular, especially those who are vulnerable at the University of Western Australia. She and we teach a couple of courses together online. One of them in particular is about young people in puberty, and a new course that we've videoed called Sexual Ethics in Islam. And it's a 40-part series for young Muslims about pornography and homosexuality and LGBT and all of those things that we struggle to communicate to our children. If I can invite forward Dr. Ameen, inshallah. If you can clip it in that scarf and maybe put this in the pocket. Up higher. There. And maybe talk into this. And I'll switch when you like. That's for the kids.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. Dear dedicated parents of al-Ameen College, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is my greatest honor to be given this opportunity to speak to you. And I know Sheikh Yahya has a lot of treasures prepared to share with you, so I won't take up too much of your time. And the thing I want to talk to you about is actually about time. Now, we as parents, we all want to give our children our best of everything. But I'm sure you have realized that certain things are not ours to give. For example, hidayah, intelligence. These are not in our hands to give. And perhaps not even money if we haven't been given a lot of wealth. So what is something that we all have in equal shares that we can choose to give to our children? It is time. As you have children, the demands on you will increase, but you must schedule in your day, out of your 24 hours, you must schedule the time to spend with your children, because this is something that no one else on earth can give on behalf of you to your children. This is where support between spouses is extremely important, because in our modern day life, the demands on us are huge, especially financial demands. Living in this modern world, a lot of us do need to go out and work. Both husband and wife need to go out to work. So we come home, we are tired, and there's so many responsibilities we need to fulfill. So as spouses, you really need to commit yourselves to your children. If you can't both give time to your children, take turns. And make sure you schedule time where you're all together on a regular basis. So this is some homework I'm going to give you. So children, listen up. I'm giving your parents some homework tonight. I want to request you to go home and sit with your spouse and review the amount of time you can give to your children, and prioritize your children in spending some time with your children. Now, one other point I want to share is that sometimes it depends on how you spend your time with your children. So quality time is what's important. You need to make sure that you are not only physically present, you need to be emotionally present as well. So you need to do things with them, play with them, listen to them, and also advise them, lead them, and guide them. So these are all the things that you can spend your time on your children. And this is one investment that you will never regret that you have invested now. You will see that, because I see a lot of parents who are so busy they become disconnected with their children. And it's such a shame, because when the children, at different stages of their lives, they need their parents there for them. So be there for your children, and also turn up to events and things that are important to your children. So this is just a few words. So my special interest is on developing your well-being as parents, because well-being is so important in our lives. If we develop our children's well-being, then they are going to learn better. They are going to connect with people better. They are better able to solve problems, and they are better able to thrive. And your children's well-being starts with you. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for that, Dr. Amina. One of the dissertations and her PhD research, a part of it can be found in her latest book called Watering the Roots, which is a parent's well-being guide from an Islamic perspective. She has some copies at the back, that's on Amazon and all of the different booksellers, inshallah. I just have two more slides that I want to share with you before we can enjoy the company of each other once again. One of the other problems that I identify in myself, not just as a parent, but also as a husband, and also as a teacher, is that at times I say something, and although I think I mean it, I don't really mean it. And at times, what I want to say, I may not be as clear as I should be. There was this one moment, I remember my son Umar, he was only 3 or 4 years old. He's sitting in the back seat, in the baby seat, and his sister Shireen is sitting next to him. And I can hear them. Either he's telling or she's telling him, ask Baba, ask Baba. So one of them says, Baba, can you get us ice cream? You know, McDonald's, you know what, it's summer, hot. And Shireen or Umar, Baba, we want, can you get us ice cream? I said, Inshallah. Shireen turns to Umar and she goes, that means no. I said, SubhanAllah, what do you think? You know me better than myself, right? And then she said, when Mom in Turkish says Inshallah, it's yes. If Baba says Inshallah, I said, SubhanAllah, I ruined the word Inshallah. I think not even 3 years old, 4 years old. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. We sometimes don't say what we want, what we need, when we want it, how we want it, the way we want it. Our communication is not always as clear as it should be. And therefore, as a rule that I try for myself, especially with our students as well, is to say what exactly I want. You know, I need you to be awake early. What is early? You know, when you say, I want you to wake up early, what does that mean? So I want you to wake up 6 o'clock. I say what I want for the need that is necessary. MashaAllah, sometimes, you know, you visit somebody's home, and it's like you walked into Toys R Us. You remember Toys R Us? Toy Mate? MashaAllah, you walk into the house, and Allahu Akbar, there is toys from the floor to the ceiling. Unused. You can ask your children today when you go home, those who are playing PS3, 4, 5, right? Forget 3 now, right? 4, 5. Xbox, 360, forget 360. The new stuff now. How many games do you have? Wallahi, one of my kids said, Sheikh, I have 78. I said, yeah, if you were to play that game 2 times a year, you would not be able to finish the whole circuit. 3 times a year, you would not be able to play it in a whole year. More is not always better. And it's actually a sign of our guilt of not doing what Dr. Amina recommended. When you don't spend time, you try to buy your way out of not having to spend time. So when there is a request, and especially some of us, we weren't given everything when we were young, and now we're able to give everything we need and what our children need. So it makes it easier to just simply say, why? Why not give them? The word no is a powerful word. The word limit is a powerful idea. One of the things that you will see within our school, and as teachers that we struggle with, is that some teachers will need to raise their voice to gain the attention of the child. In my home, in your home, in another person's home, they have different habits. So it could be that you raise your son, your daughter, that unless you yell, get up now, and unless you've said it 10 times, that they will not move. All of a sudden, me as an innocent teacher, I come to class with a smile in the morning. I say, Assalamu alaikum class. Can you please take out your books? This young child has been programmed, computer programmer for so long. He's been programmed for what? Raise the boys, I do what you command. So the teacher then, in art class, in math class, in sports class, 10, 15 times is repeating the same thing, and it is not your son's fault, it's you. And this becomes a problem when they become older. A more significant problem, where then you require the expertise of clinical psychologists like Dr. Amina. And you say, my son is having this problem. My daughter is not listening. And it began not as a genetic problem, not as a social problem, not friends problem, but because there wasn't a system that allowed you to lead your children with love and respect. Finally, failure is a step to success. And one of the things that I say often to my year 9 and 10s in particular, year 9 and 10. Year 9 and 10 is where they begin to kind of cave in. And they didn't do well on a test. And they weren't put into the class where they think other students are, mashallah. And they didn't get what other students got, or got the shoes that other students wear, or whatever it is that's not going well in their life. And they assume that because I did not get better, or that I did not attain what others tell me is valuable, that I am a failure. And sadly, if you are only focused on the result and not the process, your children will always be limited in life, and it's not their fault. I have some incredible students who have not gotten a mark higher than a B. But a year ago, they were a D, they were a C, and it took hard work for them to get from 60 to 67. And they did so much more effort and work, and are a better student than the students who every test simply get 70. And is not trajectory and projecting a growth in their mindset, in their habits, and in their performance. I want to conclude by inviting you and I to gain more skills in raising Muslims. Now I'm going to do a little bit of shameless self-promotion. Myself, Sheikh Muhammad al-Sharif, Dr. Uthman Umarji, Dr. Manahid, Dr. Sara Sultan, we have this thing called Mu'mina, the art of raising Muslims. It's actually ongoing right now. And it's raisingmuslims.com. It's a web retreat. It's a portal that allows you to gain a little bit of the professional tools that can help us with problems that sadly within our community, there are not many people addressing. One of the failures we have is that we think that when we go to the Imam and we say, Sheikh, can we talk to my son? That saying Allah said and the Prophet said, and that level of expertise needs to go beyond this. Some of our children have special needs. Some of them have cognitive problems. Some of them have had a traumatic experience that they have not yet lived through and have finished and have found closure in. Some of them, they don't know how to resist some of the surrounding pressure. Some of the students that we have in our school do things like self-harm, do things where they have a negative self-image. Some have a negative body image. And this is not an indictment on our campus, but this is an epidemic across the Western world. And I want you to open your eyes. I want you to develop, inshallah, a skill set for myself and you. I enrolled in the program not as an instructor alone, But I'm enrolled in the program. My family is enrolled in the program to be a part of the knowledge that I don't have. Sister Manahib, one of the authors there, she's the one who's written the Islamic principles of the Gottman therapeutic process, which is one of the elite processes of dealing with trauma and psychotherapy and so on. She is the Islamic authority in the world in that. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow all of us to benefit from it.